Ivan Pavlenko, From Family to Family, Chapter 4, Part 2.8, Lychany, read by Natalia Vizova. After 2 or 3 months, the consolidation of the districts actually took place. But this had been preceded by events on a national scale. Khrushchev planned to divide the regional party committees into rural and industrial ones in order to bring them closer to production, which was growing too slowly. It's true, this division did not affect the small and mostly agricultural western regions, but the areas became larger. Tsumensky and Kivertsivsky districts were combined into one, Kivertsivsky. In this regard, our Tsumen authorities scattered. Kravchuk became the head of the regional department of light industry, Kedun went to Belarus, and Vlasenko to the Chernigiv region. Following the reorganization of districts, the consolidation of collective farms began. This was also Khrushchev's idea. He tried to strengthen them economically so that they would have their own machine and tractor parks and not rely on outdated MTS. Our collective farm was merged with the Olika one, where the chairman of the board was one of the best organizers of collective farm production, Vsevolod Museyevich Finkevich, and our hurta went to Rovno. I was simply delighted with Finkevich's organizational skills. One day, going to a regular meeting with him, I asked how he was doing so well, and I had the following answer. You think that I immediately became a good one? I also had punctures. I got bumps on my forehead more than once while I learned and gained experience. I remember we bought a gas AA truck for the collective farm, while a small one was a half. Let's, I think, attach a trailer to it. They made it in a workshop, put it on wheels, but there were no springs. I found them in Lutsk at a factory, but you had to give a wild boar for them. We slaughtered a large pig. I took it to Lutsk and returned back with springs. I gave them to the blacksmiths, and they laughed. These are springs for a horse carriage, not for a trailer. Oh, God damn it. They deceived me. And now no one will deceive me because I know everything. I must say that all the Kivertsi authorities were strangers to me, including the new head of the public education department, Vitaly Filimonovich Polishchuk. Only Stepets knew me, but after a while he was taken to Manevichi for the position of first secretary of the district party committee. Therefore, to some extent, I felt alone in Volyn. Neither Shura nor I had close friends from among the local residents. For the third year, I felt like a temporary Volynian and lived in the hope that Strelets was about to be removed, or he would retire and I would return to Lochvitsa district for the same pedagogical work. Human genes probably contain some kind of irresistible craving for your native land and parental home, for the only paths in the world that you walked barefoot and which you cannot forget until the day of judgment. There I would like to be a good teacher. After leaving Yashniki, I constantly corresponded with Ivan Andreevich Romanenko, my first mentor and like-minded person. After the war, he was the first party organizer on the collective farm, and I was the secretary of the Komsomol organization. We became friends while working together, and then became related when he married my uncle Peter's daughter, Hala. He worked in the village as a paramedic, but was always interested in political and government life, was aware of everything that was happening in the area, and passed on the news to me. In his last letter, Ivan Andreevich wrote to me that Strelets' star began to fade. He also said that Vasil Grigorovich Matvienko, my fellow villager, whose sister Ulyana was married to my cousin Ivan Andreevich Pavlenko, was elected third secretary of the district party committee. In addition, at one time, I had helped him find a job when I was the second secretary of the district Komsomol committee. After graduating from pedagogical school, he worked as a primary school teacher in the village of Nove, and at the same time studied by correspondence at the Pedagogical Institute. The farm was remote and 20 kilometers away from the regional center. I talked with the first secretary, Volodymyr Kozlov, and we took Vasily as our instructor. Then he became second secretary after me, then moved to the district party committee. He worked there as an instructor and head of the propaganda and agitation department. And so he became a secretary. He was in charge of ideological personnel and therefore pedagogical ones. I immediately contacted Vasily Hryhorovych by phone. He told me to leave my work at the end of the school year and come home to the position of principal of an 8-year school in the village of Chesnikivka, which he would keep for me. But it was not easy to leave. I accidentally met the head of the district in Derno and invited him to the buffet where we drank well, and he agreed to let me go, provided that the secretary of the district party committee, Lydia Ivanovna Kyseluk, who was in charge of school principals' personnel, would not object. I had to go to her at the district committee and prove that I still had my old mother and my own house in the Poltava region, and here I am with my wife and 3 children wandering around other people's apartments. She also agreed. I handed over the school to the teacher Nina Grigorievna Kuchma and went to the district party committee to get an absentee ballot. Another serious obstacle awaited me there. The first secretary of the district committee, Havryluk, did not sign the absentee ballot. We haven't considered the issue about you, he said. You are the deputy secretary of the party committee of a large collective farm and the principal of the school. Only the bureau of the district party committee can resolve your issue. I was confused and began to prove that I had already handed over the school to the new principal and I needed to immediately leave for a teaching job in my area. On the 15th at the bureau, he said the last phrase and pointed to the door. I went out and began to think and wonder what I should do next. The situation had repeated itself 3 years ago. Then I couldn't escape from Lochvitsa, and now I couldn't escape from Kivertsi. What was common was that the slingshots on my life's path then and now were put up by the party. To hell with you, I said angrily, and decided to leave without an absentee ballot. I could not wait for the decision of the bureau, which would meet in 10 days, since by August the 15th, the school staffing was running out. I returned home, collected my documents, and the next day I left for the Poltava region. I agreed with Shura that as soon as I got a job, I would come by lorry and pick up our family. I came to my mother's in Yashniki, spent the night, and in the morning I went to Lochvitsa. I found Vasil Matvienko in his office. We said hello. I congratulated him on his promotion, and he congratulated me on my return to my native land. We talked a little, and then he called the district department of education and gave the appropriate instructions. A few days later, Vasil Matvienko called me and stunned me with the news. Strelets had crossed me off the list of school principals with the intention of appointing me head of the culture department of the district executive committee. It was, as they say, a blow below the belt. All my hopes and efforts were dashed. I had already worked in this position 8 years ago. It corresponded to my inclinations and abilities at that time. But at the same time, it was the one that critical arrows always rained down on it. Everyone and everything in the region was led by the all-powerful district party committee, but it did not like to take responsibility for the state of affairs and was always looking for a scapegoat. Most often, it was found in the cultural department and clubs. I had no intention of returning to the sphere of constant intrigue and pumping and political squabbling. And I openly told Vasily Hryhorovych about it. He tried to calm me down. Kind of at the bureau, Strelets might agree with my desire to work at school. But I knew this tough and vengeful monster well. Over time, he would again put me somewhere on a collective farm. Still, I promised Vasily Hryhorovych that I would come to the bureau, but I would only agree to a teaching job. I left the district committee with heavy thoughts. Various plans and further intentions swarmed in my head. If there had been someone else in Streletsky's place, more humane and less aggressive, I could have accepted the position of head of the culture department. It was even more prestigious than my principal's position, although the salary did not reach mine. But what about the apartment? To live in Yashniki again and work in Lochwitze? And in Chesnikivka, there was an apartment for me at the school. But the most important thing was that they tried to tear me away from working a specialty that I loved and which gave me moral pleasure. The first thing that persistently pounded in my head was the desire to return to Volyn. Maybe it was good that I wasn't removed from the party register. With this intention, I went to the telegraph office and from there called Kivertsi. I'm listening. I had the voice of the head of the district department of education, Vitaly Filimonovich Polishchuk. This is Ivan Ivanovich Pavlenko calling. You let me go late. I lied. The position of principal that was promised to me has already been taken. Come back, Polishchuk spoke louder. I'll give you school. Do you hear? Come back. Okay, the day after tomorrow, I'll be in your office. See you. My soul felt light. I went to the district party committee, took my personal file from the inspector as if to look at it, and took it with me so that not a trace would remain after me. Let them look for the winds in the field. An hour later, I was in Yashniki. I said goodbye to my mother and hitched a ride to the station. In the evening of the second day, I was already in Lychany, and on the third, in the region. It's good that you are back, Polishchuk greeted me cheerfully. Now we are going to rub someone's nose. You know that you and I are being called to the bureau on August the 15th. They accuse me of arbitrarily, without the consent of the district committee, dismissing you from the position of school principal. They don't know that I also let you leave the area, and they shouldn't know. This did not happen, understand? I will cancel my order and appoint you as the principal of a school in Krupa or Chetvertnya. Choose for yourself. And in the district committee, I will say that I did not fire you, but transferred you to another school at your request. I agreed with everything and decided to choose the school that had a suitable apartment for me.